And we've been talking this for a few minutes. We were talking about holiness last week. And in Daniel 3:7-18, it reads, "If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O King. But if not, be it known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up." Amen. Brother Terrence, I'm going to ask you to wait.
Yes.
Amen. 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 In our lesson text, Daniel 3:1-30, take the time to read it, please. The truth about God. God empowers us to live a holy life for a purpose. Now that's powerful. God empowers us. You know, he's not asking us to do something that he doesn't empower us to do. And so many times people will say, well, I can't live holy. No, of holiness, the Spirit of God can live holy. Amen. So when we're looking for a truth for our lives, we need to be able to say that I will pursue God's holiness to fulfill God's purpose. And we talked about how our purpose is to worship God and to live holy, and that holiness is God himself. So when we think about in our lesson, it begins to talk about several things about a man by the name of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He was one of the most intriguing figures of World War II era in Germany. And when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. And you see, he was so dedicated. And he had a twin sister. They were born in 1906 in Germany to a well-to-do and influential family. At the age of 16, they entered the ministry and enrolled in the University of, I'm not going to say it right, Tübingen in 1923, and later transferred to his father's school in Berlin. From the start, it says he was a distinguished student, publishing his first dissertation in 1927. And, you know, the story is that he did not stand for what he was unwilling to stand by and allow Hitler's anti-Semitic policies to go unchallenged. He abandoned the state-sponsored Lutheran Church for the dissident confessing church, even running an illegal seminary. Now, see, they weren't supposed to do that, but he did. But, you know, he was arrested. It goes on to say that Bonhoeffer was arrested by the Gestapo in April of 1943, sent to military prison. He even saw a warrant for his arrest. And he spent time in prison, was transferred in 1945. That's 2 years later. And on April 1st, the prisoners could hear the report of the Allied artillery. So 2 days later, he was transported to the extermination camp in Flossenburg. And when he was finally tried and sentenced to death by hanging the next morning, fellow prisoner and survivor Payne West said of Bonhoeffer, I'll get it right in a minute, he was one of the very few men I have ever met to whom God was real and ever close to him. Oh my God, he died. He laid down his life for Christ. So that's just an example of a time before, even now, of individuals that have laid down their life for Christ. But our lesson centers around the three Hebrew boys that were young boys, okay? And they refused to lay down what they believed in. Now, they were in Babylon. And it was no fault of their own that God had placed them into captivity in Babylon. It was for the sins of their fathers, all right? So here he is there in Babylon. And if we know the story, we see that they were forced to go to Babylon, and they were being indoctrinated with Babylonian way of life. Now look at where we are all around us. We could say it's a Babylonian way of life, okay? All around us is paganism, all around us. And so they were forced to watch as Nebuchadnezzar came parading home with what? The treasures of Solomon's temple, all right? The very things that they had been used to having in their temples of worship. Because of the disobedience of the children of Israel, God allowed them to be taken into captivity. And they the things from the temple, and he's parading with them. And so, to top it all off, it says, underlying the glitz and glamour of the life in the palace was the reminder of wealth, power, and superiority of the Babylonians. So the Jews were in making sure. But they had, because God allowed them to be taken into captivity, they had to live